Most people are not living. They're just existing, waiting for something magical to happen. But what if I told you? The magic is already in your hands. Most people live their entire lives surrounded by noise, not just the sound of traffic, conversations, or technology, but the internal noise of comparison, doubt, anxiety, and constant distraction. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded. The phone buzzes. Notifications demand our attention. We scroll endlessly, consuming the thoughts, lifestyles, and beliefs of others. And without realizing it, we begin to lose our connection to the most important voice in our life. The whisper of God, the whisper of truth that only speaks when the noise fades. We all seek answers. We want clarity about our future, peace in our heart, and meaning in our lives. But here's the true thing: you cannot hear divine guidance in chaos. It's not that God isn't speaking. It's that we've forgotten how to listen. And listening requires silence. Not just external silence, but internal stillness. The kind that makes room for awareness, that lets you observe your thoughts without becoming them. Think of a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, you'll never see clearly. But the moment you let it sit, the mud settles. The water becomes clear. Your mind works the same way. When you're constantly reacting to the world, jumping from one thought to another, your inner world stays clouded. But when you allow yourself moments of quiet, true silence, something incredible happens. You begin to hear not just your thoughts, but the presence beneath them. The calm, the awareness, the voice that says, "You are enough, you already have what you need, breathe, trust, let go." Let me give you a simple example from daily life. Imagine standing in front of a mirror after a long, noisy day. You've dealt with work pressure, social media drama, maybe even family tensions. You look into your own eyes and feel like a stranger, because you've spent all day responding to everything outside of you and gave no time to connect within. You've heard everyone else's voice, but not your own. You've given energy to every demand, but none to your soul. Now imagine if, instead, you had taken just 10 minutes that morning to sit in silence. No phone, no music, no expectations, just you and your breath. Maybe you closed your eyes. Maybe you just sat in stillness. You let the anxiety rise and pass. You let the distractions come and go. And then, in that quiet, you heard something deeper, a whisper of calm, a message of strength, a reminder that you are not just a body reacting to the world, but a soul responding to something greater. In that moment of silence, you're not doing nothing. You're doing everything. You're recharging your spirit. You're aligning with truth. You're hearing what matters. Because in that space, you stop being just a human being and start becoming a conscious being. That's where you meet God. Not in noise, not in chaos, but in stillness. Think of the most powerful people you've ever known. They don't react to everything. They don't rush to speak. They pause. They reflect. They know the power of silence. Because silence isn't weakness. It's mastery. It means you don't need to prove, defend, or control. It means you're connected to something deeper, something eternal. Our modern world treats silence like it's a void to be filled. But silence is actually a gift, a sacred space where truth reveals itself. Every time you choose silence over noise, presence over distraction, awareness over reaction, you strengthen your connection to the divine. You tune into the frequency of wisdom, peace, and clarity. And the best part, you can practice this anywhere. In the morning before the world wakes up, during a walk without your phone, in the car with no music, even in the middle of a conversation. when you choose to listen fully instead of rushing to respond. These are the moments where you create space. And space is where truth enters. You don't need to run away to the mountains or escape your life to find peace. You just need to pause. You need to be still. Because the voice of God is never loud. It doesn't shout over your distractions. It doesn't compete for your attention. It waits patiently, in silence. So the next time life feels heavy, chaotic, or uncertain, don't rush to fix it. Don't seek answers from outside. Just sit, breathe, listen. Because in that stillness, you'll remember who you really are. Not what the world told you to be, not the roles or labels, but a soul deeply connected to a divine intelligence that speaks through silence. And once you start hearing that voice, you'll never go back. Because nothing compares to the peace of being guided from within. That's not fantasy. That's power. That's alignment. That's where true life begins. We live in a world that teaches us to hold on, to people, to possessions, to positions, to outcomes. We're told that if we don't cling tightly, we'll lose everything. But the paradox is this: true freedom begins the moment you learn to let go. Detachment is not about giving up on life or walking away from everything. It's about not allowing the world outside of you to control the peace within you. From a young age, we're conditioned to chase. Chase approval, chase love, chase validation, chase success. And in the process, we tie our self-worth to things we cannot control. We believe, if they like me, I'm enough. If I get the promotion, I'm worthy. If this relationship works, I'm valuable. But what happens when those things change, as they always do? We break, we suffer. Not because we lost something, but because we were attached. Detachment is misunderstood. Many people think it means you stop caring. But real detachment is the opposite. It's caring deeply without being controlled. You still love, you still work hard, you still dream. But your peace is not dependent on the result. You're anchored in something deeper, something unshakable. Let me share a simple story. Imagine a person holding a rope tied to a hot air balloon. The balloon rises slowly and they hold on tighter, afraid of losing it. The tighter they grip, the more they get pulled off the ground. Eventually, they're dangling, scared, holding on not because they want to, but because they're afraid of what will happen if they let go. The irony is, they are no longer grounded. They've lost themselves in the fear of losing the balloon. Now imagine if that person chose to let go. They would fall. Yes, but they'd land. They'd breathe again. They'd realize that being grounded, being centered, is far more peaceful than holding on to something pulling them away from themselves. This is what happens in our daily lives. We cling to toxic relationships, fearing loneliness. We obsess over career titles, fearing inadequacy. We overthink outcomes, fearing failure. And all the while, we become more anxious, more reactive, more disconnected from who we truly are. Detachment is the practice of choosing your inner state over external circumstances. It means showing up fully for life, but not letting life dictate your worth. It's loving people without needing them to complete you. It's working hard without losing your peace over results. It's having dreams, but not crumbling if the path shifts. In everyday life, you practice detachment in small but powerful ways. When someone criticizes you and you don't take it personally, that's detachment. When you don't get what you hoped for, but you trust something better is coming, that's detachment. When you're in a situation you can't control, but you remain calm, that's detachment. It's the space between reaction and wisdom. It's the breath you take before you respond. It's the quiet knowing that you are enough, no matter what happens outside of you. One of the greatest illusions is that control equals safety. But have you ever noticed? The more we try to control, the more anxious we become. Control is rooted in fear. Detachment is rooted in trust. Trust that the universe, God, or whatever higher intelligence you believe in, is not working against you, but through you. When you let go of forcing life to look a certain way, you allow space for something greater than your plan to unfold. Take a relationship, for example. You can love someone deeply, but if your love is based on possession, it turns into fear. You start controlling, overthinking, expecting. And when the other person shifts, your world crumbles. But when you love with detachment, you love freely. You give, you receive, you grow. But you don't lose yourself because your peace is rooted within, not in another person. Or consider your career. You put in effort, dedication, long hours, and that's beautiful. But if your entire identity is built around your job, then any setback feels like death. Detachment says, I give my best, but I am not my title. I work hard, but I am not just my results. I rise and fall, but I remain centered. That is the true power of detachment. You remain you, regardless of the storm. While the world runs wild with noise, judgment, success and failure, you become still. You no longer chase peace in temporary things. You become peace. You no longer search for love in others. You become love. You no longer beg for validation. You know your worth. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means your feelings don't own you. It means you can walk away from what no longer serves you, even if it hurts. It means you can breathe through uncertainty and trust that whatever is meant for you will not pass you by. So ask yourself, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? What fears keep you chasing, clinging, and controlling? And more importantly, who could you become if you simply let go? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop holding on. Let go and rise. Most people don't live with intention. They live by habit. They wake up, reach for their phone, check messages, scroll through other people's lives, react to the same stressors, repeat the same thoughts, and call it a day. Then they do it again and again until months blur into years. And somewhere in the middle of all that repetition, their purpose fades into background noise. The truth is, if you're not living with intention, you're not really living, you're surviving. To live with intention is to make your actions sacred. It means you don't move just because life pushes you. You move because something within you pulls you. It's about deciding how you show up in the world, not drifting with whatever mood or external situation you're thrown into. Most people wait for motivation, wait for clarity, wait for the right time. But intention doesn't wait. It chooses, and it chooses now. Take something as simple as walking. Most people walk to get somewhere, to finish an errand, get to work, or just move from one point to another. But imagine if you walked with full awareness. Imagine each step grounded in gratitude. You're not rushing. You're not lost in thought. You're present. You feel the ground. You feel your breath. That simple act of walking becomes meditation. It becomes a moment of connection. That's intention. It transforms the ordinary into something sacred. Now look at how we eat. Most of us eat out of boredom, stress, or routine. We don't taste the food. We're distracted. We're scrolling. But if you pause before a meal, breathe, and appreciate the nourishment in front of you, you shift the energy. You turn consumption into gratitude. You respect the moment. That meal becomes not just food for the body, but fuel for the soul. Again, intention is the difference. Let's look at relationships. So many people stay in relationships out of habit, fear, or attachment. They say things they don't mean. They listen just to reply. They hold on not out of love, but because they fear being alone. Living with intention in your relationships means you speak with honesty, you listen with presence, you show up with care. You stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "How can I give?" without losing myself. It means setting boundaries not to create distance, but to protect peace. It's loving fully, but never losing your own truth in the process. When you live with intention, your days no longer feel empty, even the small ones. You begin your mornings not with noise, but with stillness. You pause before reacting. You set a tone for how you want to feel and how you want to make others feel. You stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. You stop existing by default and begin to live by design. One of the most powerful things you can do is take a step back and ask, is this choice moving me closer to the person I want to become? Whether it's how you speak, how you spend your time, who you give your energy to, or what you consume mentally, everything is shaping you. Living with intention means you own that power. You stop blaming circumstances and start creating alignment. Think about how we use time. Time is the most valuable currency we have. And yet, we spend it like it's unlimited. Scrolling, complaining, overthinking, pleasing people who wouldn't even notice if we disappeared. But when you live with intention, you become protective of your energy. You choose how you spend your hours. You stop overcommitting. You learn to say no to distractions so you can say yes to your calling. Intentional living also brings incredible emotional freedom. Instead of reacting to everything that happens to you, you pause. You breathe. You respond with awareness. Someone disrespects you. You don't match their energy. You rise above it. A plan doesn't work out. You don't crumble. You adapt. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because your center is stronger. Living with intention doesn't mean you'll never feel lost. It doesn't mean every day is perfect. But it does mean that you always come back to why you do what you do. It means that even in the chores, you move from your truth, not from your wounds. And the beauty of intention is that it's always available. Right now, in this very moment, you can shift. You can breathe deeper. You can choose peace over reaction. You can choose focus over distraction. You can choose action over excuse. You can speak words that heal instead of hurt. You can decide to be present. Here, now. That decision changes everything. We often look for grand moments to define our life. The big opportunities, the breakthroughs, the applause. But real transformation happens in the quiet, consistent choices. The way you wake up. The way you treat others. The way you carry yourself when no one is watching. That's where power lives. That's where purpose reveals itself. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect day or the perfect mindset or the perfect plan. Live on purpose. Walk with awareness. Speak with meaning. Love with depth. And watch your entire life rise. Not because you changed the world, but because you finally chose to live like you matter.